Hi, very beautiful community. The monster child in the White House has unfortunately started re-refereeing the World Cup and has caused an international embarrassment for the United States. So let's look at this together, and I'll present it in a way that doesn't require you to be football geeks.
All I did, I asked for a review because I didn't think it was a foul. And, again, I'm good at this stuff. I didn't think it was a foul. If they wouldn't allow,
So
a top player
America's leader called the president of FIFA and said, "I don't like the red card. Take it away."
to play, I think it would have had a big stain. And I related just that feel. I didn't tell him what to do. I can't tell him what to do. But, and I don't believe he made the decision. I think it was a committee that made the decision. And they made the right decision because, number one, it wasn't a foul. I think they made a really brilliant decision.
So it was obviously a foul, but it was, in the view of most people, including my own view, not a red card, which means 4 people made a mistake. The referee made a mistake, and the VAR team, consisting of 3 people, made a mistake. It actually looks bad if you look at stills of it, or if you look at it in really slow motion. But it's a coming together that constitutes a foul, but isn't even in that kind of orange range between yellow and red. So it's not even close to a red card in my analysis. Now, moreover, the player, Flo Balogun, handled himself very well in the days following his red card, even though it's a huge and a very unfair blow to the US national team. But the fact that this was a mistake isn't the point. The point is that there need to be rules and procedures that can make people feel good about mistakes like that, if they happen, by reviewing them. These procedures don't exist. That's a separate conversation. But you can't, as though you were a sort of king of the land, in a monarchist manner, come in and say, well, I'm watching this stuff on the telly, I don't like it, so I'm going to reverse refereeing decisions because I'm King Trump. So you see, this is a real problem far beyond football. It's not just that football is enormously popular and hundreds of millions, in fact billions of folks around the world are watching this. It's also that this resonates beyond football into people's perception of what it means to have procedure that you can find legitimate, as opposed to something that just gets generated by arbitrary power.
I think the referee's call was horrible. And nobody talks about
He's
that.
demonizing
they talk about
the
red card
referee.
like it's fine. Nobody talks. The referee's decision to red card. I didn't know what the hell a red card was. When I found out, I said, you got to be kidding. This guy just hands up, okay, your best player is not going to play next week or in the next game. I said, wow, that's a lot of power. That's terrible. But then I looked at his past, and
I don't like this
wasn't
referee. I'm going to
so good.
overrule
Okay.
the referee. I don't like the referee.
Yeah, Mr. President, are you going to talk to the Belgian Prime Minister before the game?
I didn't think of it, but I would. He's a good man.
But it's his responsibility.
I will tell you this. The people in Belgium, if they win the game, they can be very proud. If they would win the game with a player missing, it would have been a different
The
feeling.
Belgians
You
are
can't do that.
irate.
And I'm very glad.
We'll come
all
to
I
that
did
in a
was ask for a
moment.
review. I didn't say you have to do this. This man is a smart, tough man. Johnny Infantino. He's a smart, tough man.
And look at the spineless entrepreneurialism.
On behalf of all
from
Americans,
Ted.
thank you for getting rid of that ridiculous red card.
You know? Trump accused his dad of being implicated in the JFK assassination and called his wife ugly. But there he is. So, Marco Rubio said they got screwed with that red card. There needs to be an appeal process for that. So here Rubio was in that grey zone. He wasn't going where Trump was going, but he was in that grey zone. He was already being deeply inappropriate, but he was staying in the grey, because you could construe this as him half implying that something should be done about this and half saying it would have been good if procedure existed to correct an erroneous red card when VAR and the referee happened to make an error of interpretation. So this is Gianni Infantino, and he is saying that procedures were followed. He is a disgrace, and he should resign. He's saying procedures were followed, but that is, of course, completely unbelievable, given that he and Trump are saying that Trump made a call, and then seems like things happened after that as a result of Trump's call. I regularly discuss matters related to the World Cup with President Trump, President of the United States, and I did receive a call from him on this matter. The European Commission has demanded fair play and transparent competition in sport and has released a couple of strong statements. This is terrible for US soft power, because much of the world is now supporting Belgium, and this puts the coaching staff in a very, very awkward position. Maurizio Pochettino, the manager of the US national team, is coming out and defending this whole story, and he's losing legitimacy as a result. He appears sort of aligned with a gross and theatrical demonstration of corruption, which is the last thing he needs. He's in a very difficult position, because every way he chooses, he loses in terms of his public communication about this, right? The boy, very, very talented pro who got the red card, is in a really difficult situation because he didn't do anything wrong and he didn't even deserve the red card. But this is a soft power collapse for the US national team, unfortunately, and an international embarrassment for the United States. You even got Sepp Blatter, the ex-FIFA president, who presided over a considerable degree of corruption, coming out and himself condemning this as being egregiously corrupt. Red cards are not overturned by political phone calls, he says. A member of Parliament in my country has come up with a letter saying, why can't we get the suspension that our player, Jarell Konza, received also overturned? Why can't all countries now begin asking for this? Everybody should now be calling Gianni Infantino. And the European football body said that this is unprecedented, incomprehensible, and unjustifiable. In more detail, a minimum automatic suspension of one match following a red card is not a discretionary option and doesn't require the decision of a competent body to be enacted. When the certainty of rules is no longer guaranteed by its guardians, the integrity of the game is at stake and the credibility of a competition is undermined. Equally, such decision creates a precedent in the ongoing tournament, where similar situations will now require an equal treatment to the detriment of the competition. So other countries will have an unfair deal if they don't engage in corruption, and they can equalize the situation only by engaging in corruption, by making phone calls. We express our disbelief at such an unprecedented, incomprehensible, and unjustifiable decision. And this is the Belgian Football Association saying that it's astonished by this decision. FIFA bases its decision on Article 27 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code. This provision states that the FIFA Disciplinary Committee may decide to suspend the enforcement of a previously imposed disciplinary sanction. However, Article 66.4 of the same FIFA Disciplinary Code clearly provides that a red card sending off offence automatically results in a suspension for the team's next match, as has been the case for all previous red cards issued during this FIFA World Cup. Why this stinks so badly to anybody who knows the rules, right, is that a red goes with a suspension. The red card goes with a suspension. And so if you're gonna take away the suspension, you have to rescind the red card by some kind of adequate procedure established in advance. But that's not what they're doing. They're keeping the red card and just saying, even though red cards mean a suspension, we're not going to take away the red, right? So taking away the red card would look more procedurally adequate, and they're not doing that. Furthermore, and irrespective of the above, the decision is in direct contradiction with the provisions of the FIFA World Cup 2026 competition regulations as set out in Article 10.5. If a player or team official is sent off as a result of a direct and indirect card, they'll automatically be suspended from their team's subsequent match. In addition, further sanctions may be imposed. So, completely needless hit at the soft power of US sport, completely needless stain on the US national team. Yes, they've got Balogun back for the next match, but they might have won the next match against Belgium even without him. It was always going to be a close match either way, because the Belgians are struggling. The US team have home advantage, and that fairly equalizes the situation. So the match would have been a coin toss. But now people are going to be talking about the fact that somebody's on the pitch because Trump made a phone call and colluded in a corrupt way with Gianni Infantino, who is a disgrace and who should resign, right? So, terrible for US soccer, terrible for US sport, terrible for US soft power. Now, you might say, hasn't this happened before, right? Didn't we have problems like this in Italy in the 1930s, in Argentina in the late 1970s? Sure. But that is not very impressive as a reminder, because, of course, we're talking about corrupt authoritarian regimes trying to cheat at sport. So these examples are not reassuring. It's not good enough to say this has happened before, right? And as a political philosopher, I can tell you what this does. It just degrades trust in procedure ubiquitously. This is the psychological effect of this. People simply lose trust in all procedure. Above all, in procedure in public institutions. But moreover, they even lose trust on a more minor level in any kind of procedure to do with institutions. People lose trust in the procedure of how they're handled by their medical system. Right? People just lose trust in procedural adequacy when stuff like this happens. So it's very, very damaging. But the painful thing about this is that when authoritarians, democratically elected authoritarians who are still authoritarians in democratic systems, misbehave like this, they either don't get punished, or if they do get punished, they get punished as a specific instantiation of authoritarianism, but authoritarianism itself does not get punished. In other words, the alt-right here fails to success by doing this, because this kind of action degrades trust and makes it more likely that people are going to vote for politicians like Trump in the future. So this is the painful thing. It's very, very corrosive for institutions. And this is one of the biggest challenges to constitutional pro-democratic forces in Western democracies. How do you break this self-perpetuating loop? Because the more disgrace and calamitousness Trump brings about, the easier it becomes for citizens to vote for more Trumps in the future. So it's a very, very difficult, vicious cycle to break. It's not entirely unbreakable, but it's really, really difficult to break. And so, unfortunately, beyond football, in a completely ubiquitous way, this corrupt collusion, the Trump-Infantino phone call, is unfortunately just corrosive of trust all round. Sorry, beautiful community.